right? I noticed that you guys don't have a good understanding of what everything is. So what do I mean by that? There's definitions you guys don't know. Okay, so the big part is that right. So this is just basically telling you first of all it's in the shape of a cone. So this is a cone here. Okay, so what you should immediately know is that we have a formula for volume of a cone. Okay, so we'll deal with that in a second. But let's read on. Let's see. So we have okay. So it's a cone. I have a formula for volume of a cone. The circumference, and here's what's key: the circumference of the part of his head where the hat will rest is 56 centimeters. So circumference, okay, is this circle. It's the length of that entire circle going around. This pink part here. This is the circumference, okay, of the circle here. So at the bottom of this cone is a circle, right? The circumference of that circle is 56 centimeters. This is often denoted with a capital C. It always stands for circumference. And you should look and you can see, it tells you, first of all, that the circumference is 56 centimeters. Okay, so it's 56. Okay, we'll leave out units. Okay, 56. And also, you should see, if you go back to your formulas, you should see that the circumference of a circle, if you look for the formulas, is equal to 2 times pi times the radius of any circle. So what does that look like? That looks like this. Here's a circle. Okay, so here's a perfect circle, let's imagine. And you have it where this perfect circle, so this could be the base of the cone, the bottom of the cone, this part right here. Okay. You have it where this center to the edge, any center to the edge, is called a radius. And basically what this formula says is that 2 times pi times that radius is the entire length around the circumference. The circumference of the circle is 2 times pi times this length. And this length stays the same for any, these two lengths are the same, right? And again, 2 times pi times r gives you the entire circumference. And I know in my case that the circumference, the entire length around of this region, so let's call this, let's say now the green, right, to distinguish, right? This is the circumference of that bottom circle. And I know what that length is. It's 56 centimeters. And the radius in this picture would go from here to the edge. That would be a radius. Let's do that in a different color to illustrate. So this here, from the center to the edge, that's a radius, that's r. And if you look at your formula sheet again, you can see that that's the radius that they're using in the formula for the volume of a cone. So okay, so now they talk about the height of the cone. The height of the cone, let's do that in a different color as well. So the height of the cone is from the top down, straight down, to the center point. That's the center right there. This is the height of the cone. And they tell you that it's 25 centimeters. And they want us to find the volume of this cone. Okay, they want you to find the volume of the cone. So, okay, so now let's go back, let's start over, let's look, let's read through this whole problem. I just defined every piece of information, okay, but you might not be able to do that right away. So you might have to go back and read through this. But okay, let's read through the whole thing again, knowing what each one of these pieces of information is. So let's see. He's making a party hat. It's in the shape of a cone, okay, for his birthday. The circumference, okay, of the part where his head, of the part of his head where the hat will rest. That's this part. Again, that's this part that I keep outlining. Okay, it's 56 centimeters. The circumference. Okay. If the height of the hat is 25 centimeters, okay, so I put that as the height, it's 25 centimeters. Which of the following is the closest to the volume of Cam's hat? So what are we looking for? What are we looking for? What's the question mark? Question mark is the volume of Cam's hat. So let's say I didn't know anything else. Volume of Cam's hat, I know it's a cone. What is the formula for volume of a cone? 1/3. Go to your formula sheet. Find a cone. A cone looks like this. Okay. The volume of a cone is 1/3 pi r squared times h, where r is the radius and h is the height. Now, with this, okay, I look and I say to myself, okay, well, I have h. H is 25. So if I'm trying to find volume, I could substitute. I know what h is. It's 25. I'm done with that. But now, what about radius? Do I know the radius? Let's see. The circumference is this, but I don't have radius. Oh, so I guess I can't do this. No. What you do now is you think, okay, I don't know what radius is, but if I get the radius, then I for sure can answer this question because I put it in here and then I can get the volume. So now your task is shifted to just getting the radius. Well, what other information is given to you in order for you to maybe be able to get the radius? I know that the circumference is 56 centimeters. And I know that the circumference of a circle is 2 times pi times the radius. So then that means that I can write a new equation. I know that this bottom piece here is in the shape of a circle, just like this one right here. And I know that the circumference is 56. So if I want to solve for r, circumference is equal to 2 times pi times r. I know the circumference. I know pi. I know 2 times pi times r. The only thing missing now in this equation is r. So I could divide by 2 pi on both sides of this equation. And I get a value for r now. R is equal to 56 by 2. You can do the division right now to make this a little bit easier for yourself because 56 is even, so it's divisible by 2. What's 56 divided by 2? 56 divided by 2 is 28. So I divide them both by 2 and the pi stays on the bottom. And I can leave it like this. Or you could use your calculator to get an approximation for what this value is. You could do 28 divided by pi. And I'm looking for the pi symbol on my calculator. Here we go. 28 divided by pi is 8.91. And you could use this value or this value. It doesn't matter. You could use it at the end and approximate it at the end. I would prefer to use this value because it's going to make the arithmetic easier when I substitute. 28 divided by pi is just some number. So now I go back. Okay, I've gotten r. R is equal to 28 divided by pi, or this 8.91. Okay, so I go back to here and I plug it in and I just do the arithmetic. So it's going to be 1/3 pi. And instead of writing r, I'm going to write it as 28 over pi. And then I'm going to write, instead of writing h, I'm going to write what I know for the height, which is 25. So I put in 25 here. And don't forget, it's squared. I replaced r, and then r is being squared in this formula, so you got to put squared. Now v is equal to, and I just do the arithmetic first, pi 28 squared over pi squared times 25. I make this as easy as I can for myself. This is going to be v is equal to 1/3 pi over pi squared is just a pi left on the bottom, right? Because one of the pi's cancels out. Pi over pi times pi, which is pi squared. Pi divided by pi is 1. So this pi on the top cancels out, and then the pi squared just becomes a pi to the first. 28 squared times 25. And now here, I'll just use the calculator. So I'm going to get 28 squared. You do 28 squared times 25 divided by 3 times pi. Because that's the top divided by the bottom. And what you get here is you get 22,079.6. And that rounded, it says measured, which is the following closest volume. The closest, this value is very close to 2080. So B is your correct choice. Be sure you see that you cannot give up. You have to then continue to pursue what R is. A lot of you guys got prompted to find out what R was and then gave up because you didn't have R.